So to second presentation will be today by Dr. Mohamed Mostafa. Dr. Mohamed Mostafa, I'm deeply honored to introduce him. He is a consultant anesthetist in North Cumbria University Hospital, UK. He will give us an interesting presentation about presentation skills, which is, I think it is essential tool for all of us, because as communication is a key, presentation also is a key. And we should also, as we all know, the presentation not only informative, but also should be engaging and breathtaking, if we can say it like that. So please, Dr. Mostafa, you can start, and the questions will be held at the end of the session. Thank you, Doctor. Can start, please.
The picture is okay?
Yes, clear, Dr. Mohamed.
Right, okay, thank you. Right, good evening, everyone. I'm delighted and honored to be with you again today, presenting a presentation on how to present. Right, there are two types in your life when you totally alone, just before you die and just before you give a speech or a presentation. And you have to admit those moments before you are called to the front of the room or up on a stage to address the crowd, which could be absolutely frightening, I can say. It seems hard to believe, but there are people who are not only not scared of presenting, but who actually delight in it. And here is a crucial point. These folks were not born superb orators. They didn't pop out of the womb with a microphone, but they have learned a lot of special technique and skills to brilliantly going for excellent presentation step by step. And the good news is you can be one of these to be exceptionally an excellent presentation and excellent presenter. That's why I'm here today, to give you some ideas about how to nail your presentation. I think every audience has a different level of interest and knowledge and experience. And I think it's tip number one, which was our presentation today, is important to know your audience before you talk. Every one of the audience has different interest. Every one of the audience has different knowledge and experience, and a prior idea of why the learner coming to this lecture and what may motivate them and what would be valuable to them is extremely important and extremely crucial. Or actually, you will be smashed with this response like that, like when you're presenting a detailed science for a beginners or novices, or basic facts to the group of experts. So they get bored, they get sleeping during your presentation. So it's extremely important. An audio response system, which I think we all familiar with, which can solve this problem. I'm sure that most of you got used to using them in a lot of conferences and a lot of congresses, which can actually range and provide you I'm providing you for a real time feedback assessment before, during, or after your presentation. And it can range from low-tech hand raising, that's what we're using in the Zoom meeting, hand raising, to a new generation of what's called the eye clickers, or the online websites and polls. And these tools can provide you to gauge for the presenter in a way that you can customize what his subsequent informations. Tip number two we have today is how to be a good narrator. Please, guys, be a good narrator. Tell a story. Consider starting your presentation with a story that shows you the topic is important to you. Stories focus on the audience, on the speaker, rather than a slideshow. And I would give you two examples of this. I would give you an example of how telling a story would make a big difference when you are presenting. The first example is this. And I will give you the comment how you can gauge and how you can differentiate between a good and bad presentation.
So I'm going to talk to you about paraphrasing. At the end of today's session, Differences between quotes and paraphrasing and adverb. There are three main reasons why it's important to use references. Take a point of view, measure, source of future investigation. So there's two ways to reference text, quotes, paraphrase.
Okay, and the other example of a good presentation, which is it's one of actually the TED Talks, which is one of the great examples of how you go as having a good tips for perfect presentation. I would leave it for you now.
See that I've got some facial deformities, and they've been around quite a while. When I was developing in my mother's womb, I had a massive tumour form at the front of my face. It was at the top of my forehead and went all the way down to where the tip of my nose should have been. It was about the size of my newborn baby's fist. And it formed early in my development and pushed my eyes to the side of my head, like a fish. Now, back in the dark ages of the 1970s, there was no prenatal scans. So my parents didn't know this was coming. So my mother, when I was born, realised something was wrong though. So her first question to the doctors and nurses wasn't, is it a boy or a girl? Her first question was, is my baby okay? No, Mrs. Hogue, the doctor said, he is not okay. There is something wrong with his head and something wrong with his legs. Now, my mother didn't see me before I was born. And when I was born, I was taken away to the nursery and she went back to the mother's ward. And she stayed there about a week, refusing to see me. She had visitors. Other than my father, I had none. She had people coming and asking her if she'd go and see her newborn baby, and she refused. But eventually, she changed her mind, and she found herself standing at the side of my cot, looking down at this. And she rejected me. She decided then and there that she couldn't connect with this face. She didn't want to own it. She didn't want to own me. So she went back to the mother's ward, and a week later, she went home, and I stayed in hospital.
Right, you've seen the two examples now. So I think you realize how it's important for storytelling to make a drastic change, to make those, for the first example, we've seen a very bad, actually, no storytelling presenter who doesn't have any clue about what he's presenting. And that's response. You'll have a bored, sleepy audiences. They are not following you. They are not interested in what you're saying. And almost she had the worst example in everything in presentation: bad fonts, the bad body language, the color contrast extremely bad, and there is no storytelling. And this is completely exact the difference for the second TED Talk, which is give us starting the presentation of example of a story, of a personal story example experience, which is the presenter had, which grabbed the attention of all the audiences, and they were completely following all a single word he's saying. So it's really important. And I think that even for things like the presidential race, American presidential race, President Obama, whose reputation as an excellent speaker predates his stay in the White House, is also attuned to the importance of storytelling. Right. Tip number 3 in my presentation today, and how to go, I think is extremely important, and it happens for all of us, is how to manage your nerve. Most of the people feel really very anxious before important presentation. And for many people, an anxiety can extend to informal meetings, and presentation to colleagues that happens regularly. And this is a really, really big point. And if you are one of many people who feel nervous before presentation, you will probably know that this nervousness can present itself in a variety of symptoms, ranging from dry mouth, which happens for all of us, sweating, blushing, and even sometimes fasting heart rates. And in 1915, I think it's all common to us, the concept of fight or flight in physiology. And actually, this was developed by a scientist called Dr. Walter Cannon, who described the annual response to threat. And essentially, you can think of it like this: when you face with the stress of presentation, you can fight and push through your discomfort to have your presentation done, or you choose to flee and run away. And that's what really don't want you to happen. Another scientist, Dr. Hans Seyler, who discovered the documented two types of distress. The first is two types of stress, which the first is distress, which is actually a negative and bad, and can disable you while you're doing your presentation. And the other form of stress is called the eustress, which is positives and enables you and can match the highest grade of importance or of performance. And the only way of turning your distress to eustress is the use of power of your mind. Reframe your mind that you are strong and confident by a number of excellent techniques. And I would say these techniques here extremely, extremely helpful and can solve a lot of problems, really. And one of things like power of your mind, or using the power of mind and positive thinking, can keep you confident and really delighted about the result of your presentation. Extending yourself, again, extremely important, and connecting with audience will make you more convincing and more engaging, and more likely to achieve your natural goals and your natural vocal images. Another point is very important is when you are looking, or when you are interacting with your audiences, look at everyone, as everyone needs to feel connected with you, and don't look in a linear border starting from one next to the other. Do it in a star appearance, do it randomly, so you force people, or you force audiences to get engaged with you, and you feel like you are entertaining and you're having all these ways of mutual linkage between you and the audience. Tip number 4, and what we're having extremely, again, it's very important, is before you're doing any presentation, guys, you have to be clear about your goals. What do you want to achieve from your presentation? It's really important before designing your presentation to spend some time thinking about the audience, thinking about their expectation from you. And this can happen by several ways. First thing you need to do is to work out what's your topic. Then decide a goal which explain what you want to achieve, and you will be more focused and targeted. And then after that, you're deciding the goals, which is actually a presenter focus, to identify the purpose, which is actually an audience focus. And at the end, writing a leading statement, extremely important, which is gives the audience the key message you want to deliver. Tip number 5, I think it's again another one of these important tips for a fantastic presentation. It's about answering the questions and answer, or the part of a question and answer, which has happened with every presentation you're doing. And it happens even for the virtual ones. And there's no doubt that it's important to know the answer, to answer the question. It's important so that you don't appear unprepared or less knowledgeable. And in fact, for most of us, and the ideal scenario during the question and answer is that we showcase our professional expertise and respond to all questions with confidence. It's not only confidence and ease, and even if you don't know the answer. And there are 4 steps approach where you can need to ensure and maintain rapport and everyone who is presenting or interacting with you through the question answer session. First, You have to acknowledge a question asker. Please wait for the question to end and finish, then acknowledge him. That gives you a positive feeling for the audience and make the question sounds interesting to the whole audience. Repeat a question, paraphrase it in your own words. That helps for the better understanding for you and for the audience. Also, answer the question in a structured and organized way, as it's easy for everyone to understand what's your point and stick to it. Checking. And checking, again, one of these step approach, as you, after answering the question, you have to confirm the question asker is happy of your answer, or you need a further explanation or further details of responses. And I will go through some of these scenarios, which was, I think, most of us have when we get into the question and answer session. So first thing is, if you having one of the asker who already asking a question which you already covered in your presentation, and this will certainly happen. Please don't get offended, guys. Don't get frustrated. Simply don't let the people in your presentation audience, they don't listen to every single word you say all the time, and they will keep switching in and out. So don't say, for example, then when you get asked, well, please, sorry, I said this before, so you can go back and see my coverage in the presentation. He will feel embarrassed, and this can affect the way of trust between you and the audience. Another scenarios which happen during the question answers is, if you don't know the question answered, and it's fair enough, there is no one of us, no one on earth know everything at the same time. It happens. So please don't be defensive. Don't take a point and then you start to defend it if you are in one side. Don't fake it. Don't say something which you don't know. If you don't know the answer, just simply say, I don't know. I will go back to you when I know the answer, or even you can involve one of the other people who may know the answers, and this actually creates a lot of credibility and make the question answers more realistic. But by making up answers, or don't having the fake answer, this will affect the confidence between you and the audience, and it's really unprofessional. If you have the answers, or you still you're not sure about the answer, you can buy sometimes. You can use some techniques by buying sometimes, and you can divert the question to another one of the member of the team. You can paraphrase it, so you can buy some time to start to think about the answer and then respond to the asker. All right, this is another example of who you can face, who's one of your audience who is asking you a question, which seems that he already knows the answer. Again, guys, don't feel offended if you feel that he knows the answer or responded later in a way that he knows the answer. That's absolutely fine. You have to praise him. You have to praise his idea and have a mutual discussions between you and him, and I've actually turned it into a general discussion in the group. Another 2 points that you just want to highlight it in the question answer sessions is when you having who to look when you, especially when you have a question from one person. So when you're answering, please guys, there is something called multi-flame syndrome, where you hunt the person who asked the question and exclude all other audiences. And this can affect you, again, your engaging point, you affect your rapport with the audiences, and it's not good. The other point is about the question answer session. And I think all of us know that is the best to keep the question and answer at the end of your presentation, because intervening with your slide, intervening with your presentation will take you off the track and will divert the attention of the other members of the audience. So it's better to have the question and answer session at the end of your presentation. Right. Tip number 6. And tip number 6, again, extremely important, is about humor, and it's your rule in presentation. Well-used humor can make your message really, really engaging, entertaining, and memorable. However, be careful, guys, especially if you are presenting, and it did happen several times, where people who are presenting in international conferences or having multicultural audiences with different culture, different region, different religions. Be careful of the cultural differences. Avoid making references into cultures, and some of your audiences may get offended by that. And I know presenters who get eliminated from conferences because of bad humor or really a big mistake of doing they done during the presentation using unprofessional humor. Also, another point is be natural. Yes, be natural. Don't force the humor to come out. Don't go and Google some of the jokes and just squeeze it in your slides. This is not good. It really, really appears unprofessional. However, so there's no doubt that the humor and its role in presentation does have a lot of advantages. Like it's been mentioned here, it lines it up heavy subjects. It keeps people engaging with you and build rapport of audience if it's used properly. Tip number 6, I think. So tip number 6 or tip number 7 is using the body language. The body never lies. Your body plays a fundamental role in the believability of your message. And there are many, many points, things like eye contact, stance, and gestures. And if you move to the eye contact here, you have to know that it's a good idea to focus on a different members of your audience, guys, as much as possible, as we said before. And eye contact, no doubt, is one of these body languages which is keep you help or connecting with the audience. You stop the audience from switching off from your presentation and reduce the nerves and actually keep you more familiar or feel there's like informal engaging and linking between you and the audience. However, some presenters say, I hate people look at me and it keeps me nervous. And it's fair enough. If you feel this way, you are most definitely not alone. And all of you need to realize is that the audience is there for themselves. It's not for you. It's not for your presentation. When you come on a stage, there is psychological part, and believe me, just try it. It happens for all of us, either a presenters or an audience. It takes up 9 seconds to make an initial assessment of you looking, superficial things like your shoes, like your hair, like your spectacles, and they take another 25 seconds to validate their original thoughts and feelings about you. So don't worry. And then this involves listening to your voice and tone and watching your body movements, facial expression, and energy. Then at the end, they go back to their thinking about themselves. Then at the end, they start figure out about the message you want to deliver from your presentation. So don't worry about it. So don't get nervous about how the audiences, they look at you at the beginning of your presentation. Again, the stance, and actually one of the best examples of stance is Bill Gates was during the TED Talk. So presenters should learn how to take the natural stances, the natural stance of how we learn to stand when we were little, standing in a symmetrical way to help us breathe from our diaphragm. And instead of using the chest for our breathing, standing with your feet under your hips, slightly relax your knees and relax your shoulders and keep your heads in the front. And that gives you a natural, strong, confidence appearance in the front of the audience, and actually also takes your nerves away. Another thing is about gestures, and people will be hyper-stimulated by your presentation as a presenter if you are using hand gesture clearly. And there are tens of gestures, which is really the details of gestures go beyond this presentation. You can go and read it. It's absolutely important when you do a face-to-face presentation. Right. Well, There's another tip here, which is tip number 8, which is about you engaging and you're entertaining when you are presenting. Audiences are made up of people who have a variety of personality filters. They will definitely get bored to fall asleep if you are not engaging or not entertaining. Just read your slide. If you are just reading your slide, which is fully packed with a lot of details of hundreds of words like the one in the left. However, audiences will be attracted, will be completely following you if you are presenting in the same way like the presentation on the right. They are just having symbols, stats, they are list words in your slide. It's not noisy. So and it will keep interacting with you, will keep you following your presentation. And it's really important that when you are presenting or you want to enjoy the audiences, you have to respect the idea that people are different, or the audience that are different. They have a multiple different preferences. There are some people they prefer a visual preferences in their reception of your presentation. They like to have a visual display. They like to be engaged by visual display and messages delivered to them by visual ways. There are other people also having the auditory, or who are favor sense of hearing and vocals and storing information for their perception to your presentation. Kinesthetic preferences are those people who favor their touches, moving, and emotions when it comes to a good way of receiving your presentation. I hope it makes sense for all of you. Tip number 9, and I think it does make a sense for all of you. It's when you warm your body like an athlete. If you are not warmed, you may not injure yourself. You may injure yourself. You might not perform to their potentials, and your voice and your ability to convey confidence is a reflection of your entire physical and mental being. And it does happen with a lot of ways. It comes with speech. With speech, you have to speak with confidence. We often refuse to accept as an audience. We often refuse and accept an idea merely because of the tone of the voice, which has been expressed in an unsympathetic way to us. And this can happen by different ways. Can be happening by initiation or introducing some poses, like what I'm doing now. So the pose is critical. People in your audience need time to hear what you have said and make sense of it. This is as simple as that. Also emphasizing the keywords, extremely important. How to choose strong keywords, which is powerful and can make a sense to your presentation and can grab the audience attention. So again, this is one of the most important aspects when you are speaking with confidence. Use a microphone. Again, microphone is a fantastic way that is easier to let people listen to you in a very clear way. Another tip here, which is the setting up the room. And there's no doubt especially when you are presenting and when you're having a very important presentation, like for your master or PhD, or you have a very important conference or a congress, you want to show up that you are on the stage, you are very ready for your presentation. You have to go early, you have to arrive early and set up before your audience arrive. You get sure that everything on or ready for your presentation. There is no unexpected errors which can happen while you are presenting. Rehearse your stance and your slides. And I would say rehearse from 50 to 100 times. Yes, you heard it well. You have to rehearse at least 50 to 100 times to be a very competent in your way of presentation, and you be very good in your responses to the audience, and you don't have this unexpected problems of missing some of the facts you want to deliver to the audience. Also try to manage the distraction. When you arrive early, try to see if any other ways like chairs, like windows, things like noise in the room. So manage distraction in the room. And finally, tape down your power cords to avoid any accidental falls or any accidental problems to happen. Tip number 11, trigger videos. And actually, I'm sure that all of you agree that short videos, which is from 30 seconds to 3 minutes, presenting a case or problem, presenting a thought, would provoke the dilemma that encourage discussions and debate. And this is really, really important for us, other than just reading the slides. And lastly is about tip number 12, which is applying the talk-home messages. When I'm confident that most of you are excellent presenters, and they take this point all the time, as taking home messages where learners are challenged to commit to a change in their behavior as a result of something you or they just have learned. So it's extremely important again. I put another slide here, which is because we are in the era of COVID-19, and this is one of the things which we give some of the tips of how to have a good virtual presentation, or how you have to having some tips of good presentation. So although that you're doing a virtual online things away, and it doesn't mean you're not dressing appropriately. And I've seen presenters really in the real time, they missed a lot of nice clothes or an official professional clothes during their virtual meetings. Things like body language. Why not? You are doing your body language or using your body language or eye contact, and the eye contact here going to be through the camera, not through the presentation. So you have a good way of interacting, all the people look at you. Also getting the lighting right, professional surroundings and backgrounds. And I came across a lot of presenters who are having, for example, their background, things like wardrobes or the personal wardrobes, or toilets in the background, or other forms of that. It doesn't look nice. So you have to stick into a professional way of presentation when you are doing it online. And I think that really the virtual presentation during this era of COVID-19 brought us all together, and brought us the importance of crossing miles without traveling, without going anywhere. You are interacting with experts. You have a very good way of conversation with experts, and having a really good learning opportunities. So in a summary, I think I've been listening to most of all of you guys about the presentation, and I think that you are all excellent presenters, and you have the knowledge and experience of how to can formally and how to deliver a message in a very clear way. And at this table, I think this is something which is you all know, but it's fantastic. If it's very good, if you know that you are presenting in a credible and confident way, you have a very clear slide. You don't pack your slide with a lot of information, and don't lose your audience. Tell us interesting, curious facts, and this is one of the things which is, I think, it's really important. The end of the slide here, I just put an example of one of the young, I don't know if you heard, it's Malala Yousafzai, which is one of the Nobel Prize, she's an excellent presenter. She just literally, she will cover most of the point mentioned in this presentation by her talk. So I just will take just 20 seconds listening to her, and you'll see how she is applying all the tips we've mentioned in this presentation.
Well, in fact, I'm very proud to be the first Pashtun, the first Pakistani and the youngest person to receive this award. Along with that, I'm pretty certain that I'm also the first recipient of the Nobel Peace Prize, her younger brother.
Oh, sorry.
In fact, I'm very proud of my younger brothers. I want there to be peace everywhere, but my brothers and I are still working on that. I'm also honored to receive this award together with Kailash Satyarthi, who has been a champion for children's rights for a long time, twice as long, in fact, than I have been alive. I'm proud that we can work together. We can work together and show the world.
Right. I hope that this will make sense for you. It's just really a very good example. This is my resources, which is I've used, and I would advocate anyone who is interested to read more about how you can be a good presentation or how to be a good presenter, and taking more tips. There's 2 books here, which is I like to read all the time, and this is another BJ Education article, which is about 7 tips of engaging and giving a memorable presentation. I hope it was a nice lecture, and thank you very much for all of you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Mohamed Mostafa, for this, for sure, memorable and engaging presentation. Thank you very much for your tips. I guess we know some, but there are some new for many of us, I guess. For example, for me, the steps for the answering of the questions to the audience is very nice. The techniques and the type of audience that you will meet, sometimes who is not listening, or someone who also know the answer, but also he asks. Thank you very much for this.
Thank you.
Any question and answers in the chat, please, or in the question and answer panels are welcome. Also very nice, the tips for the virtual lecture, because most of the webinars now done virtual. So I guess there is new requirements for presentation now done on the internet base. Something also very nice.
Yeah, I mean, like it's most of the points. It's we are all familiar with it, but however, how it's how especially when it comes to things which is sometimes you think that it's only special to you. It's only you are the only one who having this problem. This is a common problem happening with for every one of us. And if it's not happened, it will happen later when you're presenting, and either in a meetings, in conferences, in courses, you have to respect the idea that people they are not they are human behavior, and human behavior is unique, and where it's a common, and the psychology of the people when it comes to listening to other people, it really varies according to your experience of how you taking a good tips of presentation, how to grab their attention and how to keep them on track with you all the time. Either it's coming as a face-to-face presentation, which we all miss, because I think that this is the face-to-face presentation does have a superior advantage over the virtual. And the virtual meeting is really good, but you're still missing a lot of ways of learning opportunities when it comes to face-to-face meeting and face-to-face presentations. So I hope we're turning back again to normal life, and we'll have the chance to meet in person and getting experience from every one of each other's for in the future.